Soumya says 25 years of experience does that, I guess. Is that so, Eddie?
I'm not that old yet, but I appreciate the confidence. Yeah, I think maybe like 16 years now. So yeah, not quite 25. I might look old, but not there yet. Thank you.
Someone says, I think this is one of the things that everyone looks out for. Aditya says, I'm just here to fork some of Eddie's epic one-liner.
That's brilliant. I'm going to steal that, forking someone's one-liners or their comments. I love that. That's brilliant. So thank you.
What was the story of Eddie before that? Like, how was he when he was in college and, before things just changed for him? How was Eddie? What was the story of that?
It's a very different Eddie. Let's just say in a nutshell, you want to go quite far back. That's like 20 years back. So I was probably, how we have Eddie Hub and we're just starting kind of Radio Eddie or Eddie Radio and when people can call into my live streams and so on. So lots of those things. I think back then I would categorize it as kind of Joker Eddie. Like it was just always playing the clown, never doing any work. Literally like it would be like a week before like something is due, like an essay is due, and I'd be like, right, I've got a week, better get started. 2 days before is enough. And 2 days would come. I convinced myself that 1 day is enough. And then I convinced myself that the night before is enough because you've got all night to work. And I convinced myself the morning's okay. And it was just a disaster, just scraped through by kind of the skin of my teeth. And I hated coding back then. Like, would you believe it? I actually really didn't enjoy it. At university, coding was very theoretical. I didn't enjoy it. I tried to avoid it as much as possible, pick lots of modules that didn't involve coding. I wasn't sure what to do, but I was still just going along with the electronics job, hoping it would get better. And then I think 2 years into electronics, a friend of mine from Hong Kong, from university, who's really into coding, said, I'm going to a hackathon, do you want to join virtually? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I loved it. I made like a HTML page with a bit of CSS, and literally I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, where has this been all my life? At uni, why didn't they show us this? And then I'd like coding more, but it was just sort this data. And it's like, that's not fun. It's important, but as a web dev, it's not something you really do. You just kind of go .sort or database, sort this sort of thing.
Right. How to go about the first freelancing project, basically how to build confidence in the client if it's your first freelance project.
It is hard. And so what I would suggest is pick your first client, pick a project that you're pretty comfortable with. Like later on, you can have projects that are more challenging for you. I would say at the beginning, to build up your confidence with you and your client as well, I would pick something that you're pretty confident about, like 90% how to kind of get on and do it. Later on, you could have a bit more unknowns, and make sure you over deliver. And that was something that really helped me catapult my career. I made sure that I over delivered, even at a cost to me. So if they wanted it by Friday, I'd try and do it by Thursday. If they had budget for 3 days and I knew it was going to take me 4 or 5, I would still do it, and I'd still do an amazing job, because then those people, those clients become your ambassadors. They might only have a small project. So to give an example, I had one client who only spent like a few $100s with me, and it's going back quite a few years, but I really over delivered. And then 6 months later, someone came to me and said, oh, I got recommended by X, this person. Yeah. They said you were amazing. My project's a bit bigger, and it was considerably bigger, talking like tens of thousands of dollars. Could you do it? And I was like, yeah, I can do it. That's fine. It was an area that I knew. But so you can't just think about like today and the client you've got now. You don't know who these people know, who they speak to.
So how did this whole open source journey start with you? Like, how did this begin?
I'm not gonna lie, my first, not pull request, because no pull request existed at the time, my first open source contribution was fixing a typo. And my second, third, and probably 10th contribution was also fixing typos. And I think it has a lot of things similar to freelancing. So you kind of do the easy things to build up that confidence, and then you get more confident. And then from fixing typos, I started improving people's English. Then I started improving documentation. Then I started improving code coverage by adding automated tests. And then I started doing features. And I think now it's focusing more on adding value. We're all quite creative, I think. We're in tech, we're in coding, even if you're not in coding, in testing, in UX, UI, it's all very creative. And I found, I work for some big companies, and not the FAANG companies, but I work for some big companies. I did get some offers from the FAANG companies. They approached me, but the money and the work-life balance and the lifestyle wasn't what I wanted. But I prefer to be in control of what I want. If I want to work more this year because I want to save some money, that I can put in more hours. If I want to spend more time with the community and I don't need to, I can use my savings and all the rest, I'd rather do that. I like to have that flexibility. If I don't want to do a project for whatever reason, I can say no. If I'm on the fence about the project, I could double my rate and say, look, it's double. If they go for it, then great, I've got extra money. If they don't go for it, then I didn't really want it in the first place. So you're in complete control. So I to be honest, I really believe for most people, for being independent is so much better after you've probably got like 6 years experience. But I still believe people can do it from junior and being a student. I really, really believe they can, because it's about, again, like before, adding value. But it's not for everybody. There is that risk of next month you might have no work. So some people want that safety and that consistency, and that's also fine. But I just want people to be aware that it is possible, and you can do both at the same time. So if you want the comfort of a permanent job, you could do weekend work, evening work, just little projects until you build up that confidence, build up that kind of what we call nest egg of like pocket of money. So if you're out of work for a little bit.
I lost the count. When did you feel confident enough to start taking freelancing orders?
It is quite funny. So when I just started learning to code, really, like quite a few months after that hackathon that opened my eyes, I was just doing some basic HTML and CSS sites for people. I didn't suffer from imposter syndrome then. So for me, I didn't have that challenge. I was confident that I could do it, and if I didn't, I could figure it out, or I knew someone in the community who I could ask. Again, this friend who got me involved in this hackathon, I knew I could ask them, saying, this is not working, how can I do it? And they were really, really helpful. I definitely need to give them a shout out. I suffered imposter syndrome more recently, like in the last couple of years, so it's been very different. And that's a different conversation, I'm not going to go into that. But if you're suffering from imposter syndrome now, I would say definitely pick up small clients, therefore you can do it if something you've done before. And like the main one is such an example. I see so many people in some of the communities that I belong to, like some of the marketing communities, the business communities. I want to create my own course on GitHub and open source and so forth. And I've joined some of those communities, and their questions are so different to mine. Mine is, how should I decide how long a video is, like 2-3 minutes, and how do I break it up into modules and all that. Their questions are, I've built my course, I'm charging $100 for my course, but I can't get a custom domain for my course page that I'm using on this platform. Or I'm using this template on this course platform, but I want to customize the CSS. How do I change the color? Like simple things that are simple to us, but to them, they're like, I spent the whole weekend on it. I just want to change the background color from like black to white or whatever, white to black. People like yourselves can help. You can say, well, it's going to take me an hour. It's going to cost you whatever, $10. It might take you less time. You can help people with it, and that's adding value, and they're going to be so grateful. And then when someone else in that community says, hey, I want to do this, they said, oh, I can't remember, it was something to do with something called CSS. You know what? Let me just send this person's name. They fixed it for me in an hour. Problem solved. Done. And then you start getting known in the areas. I'd say try and pick a sub niche where you can help. Don't try and put everything on your portfolio or on your CV or so forth. Don't list every technology you know, because I think it will just scare a lot of non-techies off.
Considering the whole job scenario in the pandemic, do you see more and more active freelancers? And if so, do you believe there's a chance that the space might get saturated in the near future? Awesome
question. I love this question. So things have definitely changed, and I think for the better. I think the world has got smaller. So many of my clients before would say, we're remote. So I've been remote for 6 years, but we're remote, but they need to be within commuting distance. It's like, why? We're all remote. If I'm, an hour away or 10 hours away, I don't come into the office anyway. But in their mind, the client thinks, well, if they need to come in for emergency, you can. Not that it ever happens. I think the world has got smaller because people are realizing. So I paused for a second because I'm looking at the clock, and we're 30 minutes in. We've got 30 minutes left, which is great. But I think we've just been a power cut, and I've got my UPS will last for 30 minutes, so I think we'll be okay. So got internet and computer for 30 minutes. Yeah, the world has got smaller. Companies are realizing that it doesn't matter if you're 30 minutes away or across the world. Time zones are an issue, but less of an issue because things are more asynchronous now. You don't have so many calls. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, people were like, jump on a call, and end up being on calls all the time. Whereas now it's more, people are a bit more organized and so forth. I think there are more freelancers because people maybe lost their jobs and they thought, right, I'm just going to go into freelancing. But also I think there are a lot of people who aren't standing out. And I think that with a little bit of effort, literally little, you don't have to become like, a brand expert or anything like that. But with a little bit of effort, that people could really stand out. Just putting testimonials on your profile, having an active GitHub account, and then say code changes or anything, just active, like get involved in the conversation. I know that when I hire for my clients, freelancers around the world, I always say, I definitely check their GitHub account. I don't care about your LinkedIn. I definitely, because you can write whatever you want on there. I definitely check their GitHub account, but I don't check it for what everyone thinks. I'm not looking at your latest commit. Was it the best code in the world? I actually look to see how people talk on issues and pull requests, how they review other people's work, how they accept the constructive criticism from other people. That's what I'm looking for first. Attitude first, and then technical skills can always be taught if there's a gap or something like that.
So how do you think that has changed, that the definition of DevRel has changed then and now? Are people are people even there yet that they're realizing that it's different? It's not the same that we're actually acquainting it with.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. I think in the last 12 months and even in the last few years, a lot of companies, not all, but a lot of companies are realizing that you need to get the developers on board, because when they go to companies, other places, hackathons, etc., they like to use technologies that aren't just well documented and good tech, but also that they feel has a good and strong community with it. So I think a lot of companies are realizing how important DevRel is, and some still think it's a sales process. That's wrong. That doesn't work. And that's why when my clients ask me to help them with their DevRel stuff, if DevRel reports to sales, I just don't take on that work, because it's very different. Like, right, ram this down their throat. They got to buy it, buy today, offer, buy. It's like, no. When it reports to engineering, it can report to marketing, and again, it's like in the middle. But when it reports to engineering, it's very different. It's like, let's get some feedback on this. Let's see how we can help the community. Because when they go to a new job or their current job or get a new client, they're gonna say, I use this tool, the community's awesome, really active, really helpful, we should use this. And then their client or their boss or whoever is then gonna buy it and pay for the product or the license to use it. DevRel, I just see growing. I mean, I'm inundated with DevRel work, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to pick the projects that I want to do, so I can work with technologies I want to do, and I don't have to say yes to the ones that I'm not so interested in. And they're good technology, nothing wrong with them, but it's just not something that I'm passionate about. For a fresher to choose freelancing seems a bit risky. Is it risky? Because if you're doing it on the side, there's no risk. If you're a fresher, I'm guessing you're studying. I'm guessing your finances are kind of, I don't know, I'm making an assumption here, but your finances are covered by parents, loan or sponsorship, I don't know, or something. So if you did, 1 day a week, not a full day, but you might do like, a few hours over the week in the evening, however you plan it out. In a week, if you did like 8 or 10 hours and you get paid, great. If you don't have work that week, I'm guessing you're a student. It's kind of, you don't have a lot of outgoings. You probably do, because being a student is expensive, but you don't have like a mortgage, you don't have a car and so forth. So if it's your first job out of uni, yes, I appreciate now you need to find work and so on, but still look for that permanent work. But why can't you do some freelancing on the side? So attack both on both angles and see which one gets traction. You might get this job that you really want, so therefore when you finish this freelancing project, you're going to say, right, I'm not going to do any more at the moment for that. Or you might get some really great exciting freelance project and nothing moves forward with the permanent. I would say do both. Don't do freelancing 100%, maybe do kind of 60-40, 60% on the freelancing, 40%. Because I think the reason why I say 40% on the permanent, not because I value it less, but because I think you do a lot more waiting around for, did you get the interview? You got the interview, you're waiting to get a response. Did you move on to the next level and so forth? So that's why I'm weighting it, not in terms of priority, but more in terms of like your effort and time is what I mean. And see what works. Yeah, I would definitely try and do both at the same time. Just watch a little bit less Netflix, maybe play games a little bit less. I know you kids like to party a lot and so forth, so maybe a little bit less partying.
Everything is possible. Even impossible says I'm possible. That's something great. Talking about GitHub Star of the Year, the thumbnail says it all. The first GitHub Star of the Year. How was the pre-feeling?
When I found out that GitHub was starting a GitHub Stars adventure, and they mentioned it to me directly. I just thought that's a bit of a weird thing to mention to me directly. And then they said, oh, and something's coming for you soon, like keep an eye out. And I got busy with the community and YouTube and all the rest. I kind of like forgot. And then out of the blue, I got a message saying you've been nominated. And then a month later, he said you've been successful, as a GitHub Star. I was like, wow, this is awesome. So it was really out of the blue, really unexpected. I kind of knew something was happening, but I got so busy, I just forgot about it. And being on the Slack with the GitHub engineers, like imagine you have an idea or you are stuck on something and a GitHub engineer, and you can actually speak to engineers working on it. I remember I had a GitHub Action challenge, and then someone in the Slack said, oh, X person's working on that feature, just tag them. And they say, yeah, let's jump on a call and I can help you through it. And it was just really amazing to have access to those people. So that was really, really great. And then to jump ahead, because hopefully we can get some more stuff in, great questions from the community. But then we had the Nova conference, which was for GitHub Stars only. And that was amazing. It was just, really, really awesome to geek out with all the other GitHub Stars on Slack, on a conference, with the other engineers as well. So that was brilliant. And then at the end, they said they were going to they were going to announce who the GitHub Star of the Year was. And I've actually got a reaction video. I recorded this. So I got a reaction video on my YouTube channel. I think it's a short. I was like, I can win this. And then they started talking. I was like, no, I can't win. So who am I kidding, right? There are so many amazing people in the GitHub Stars, like seriously, some really amazing people who maintain like really big, like Java projects, JavaScript projects, like real serious people. I was like I just mess around with open source. I just play open source. I'm not like some of these hardcore people. And then they announced my name, and it kind of, took me a second. And even now, like, I think we're like 2 months on, I still shocked that it was me that won. And I think it goes to show that it's not how super technical or super advanced you are. I think it's more how you help other people. And I think that's why I love the GitHub Stars program, is because it doesn't mean you're promoting GitHub. It doesn't mean that there are a lot of people who don't really do a lot of open source, but they help in the community. That's what GitHub want to do. They want to help people who help the community. And that's what I want to do on my channel. I want to also help people in the community who help other people in the community. Make sure your GitHub profile is active. Make sure you're sharing positive things on socials. If you've learned something new today, share it. If you can shout someone out, do it. If you can leave a positive reply on someone's post, do it. People are going to see you as a positive person. No one wants to hire like some grumpy kind of person who's going to be that bad apple in the team or anything. It's important. And I see people just always doing jokes on socials, and that's fine. But then these companies, these potential clients are going to look you up on socials. And if you're always kind of joking around and messing about, they're going to think, well, I don't want them to mess. They don't seem serious. So, yes, your Instagram might be more about you, but I think things like what you post on Twitter and LinkedIn needs to be a bit more, I'm doing air quotes here, like professional and serious. And if you can add value to people, like to give an example, like how you can all add value now and grow your networks. You're all here learning, and I'm learning as well. I can learn from all of you. And as I always say, everyone is your mentor, and you're the mentor for everyone as well, because you can all learn from each other and you can all teach someone else something. But the point I'm trying to make is take a screen. If you want to grow your network, and if you want to get a like, take a screenshot of this live stream and share it on socials and tag me and Khushi and EquiCode, and we'll like it. But if you want to go further and get a reshare or a retweet from us, add some value to the screenshot. In the text, don't just say, enjoyed live stream, here's a screenshot. Say, my favorite point was, or my favorite question and answer was this, or the one tip or two tips I took away that are my favorite are this. So therefore someone who wasn't there can at least learn one tip. That's an easy way to add value to your community, an easy way to grow your community, because if it looks like a really good post that adds one value that my community who couldn't make it today could see, I'll reshare it. So now my community is exposed to your community, and you'll grow your network that way. And then people will see, oh, this person's adding value. Let me follow, let me subscribe, and see what else they're up to. So always think about adding value if you can to everything you do.